Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to HIMediaTV. I'm your host, Tim from HIMediaTV, and welcome back to my little black book where I talk into a microphone for an indeterminate amount of time and you listen for some reason. Today, I want to talk about the elephant in the room, or lack thereof, or elephant gun recipient, Charlie Kirk. I want to note a few things. I have been rather glib in the last 24 hours, and I have gotten some punishments from platforms as a result, so I'm going to be a little more even-keeled here, hiding any potential inappropriate glee I might have gotten from the poor man's death. I want to start by saying, first of all, apparently, the cricket that lives in the wall of my girlfriend's house has opinions. Anything else, Jiminy? No? Shut the fuck up. Anywho, it is ironic that the last thing Charlie Kirk was talking about before a 308 round blasted through his vertebrae was defending gun violence. Again, a reminder that this man has said that the yearly deaths that we get from gun violence are worth protecting the Second Amendment in its current form. And a reminder that he was using the question he was responding to, including or excluding gun violence, was, do you know how many mass shootings have happened in the last 10 years? And in bringing up gang violence, he's like, it was a deflection, fundamentally. It was a deflection using, the questioner in general was talking about, how much damage, it's like, how many, cis white shooters has it been, because this was the broader context of the conversation. And he says, well, what about the blacks? That is the context that we're looking at here, because when you bring up, gang violence in that particular context, that is what is being insinuated. And pretending it's not is disingenuous and bad faith. He died on the cross of his ideology of, a willing sacrifice for the protection of the Second Amendment. Now, I want to be very clear to everybody listening. I am myself a proponent of the Second Amendment, and I cannot necessarily say why I am supportive of the Second Amendment, but I very much am a believer in Killer Mike's philosophy. You have a pistol for personal protection, a shotgun for home protection, and a rifle for splattering fascist gray matter on the pavement. That being said, I do think that as glib as I and many of my fellow contemporaries on the left have been with the death of Charlie Kirk and the apathy that we feel towards his death, however unjustified liberals and right-wingers might feel about it, I do think that this does set a pretty nasty precedent. We can be joyous as much as we want about Charlie Kirk getting got, and frankly, I think his children might be better off not be growing up influenced by his terrible politics and ideology. But the right very much is give an inch, take a mile. This man is going to be martyred, and it is going to do a couple things. One, they're going to use it to increase the level that the right is already doing violence against the left-wingers. A reminder that a group of right-wing goons assassinated sitting Democratic lawmakers and their partners, and we forgot about it collectively after about a week and a half. Right-wingers did not have any type of remorse or saying like, oh no, this is bad. They were gleeful about it. When Nancy Pelosi's husband was almost beaten to death by a right-wing lunatic with a hammer, they joked about it and were just as glib about it. The problem is that every conservative accusation is projection, and they want to be able to do to us and then not have it be done in return to them. And unfortunately, because of the nature of how they work, they're like, oh, this is what we're doing now, go time. I would not be surprised if plenty of left of center media figures become targets for right-wing goons at this point. I would not be surprised if more Democratic politicians are murdered by right-wing lunatics. Because we on the left fought them at their own game, they're going to take this as free reign. And that is frustrating. Make no mistake, I shed no tears over Charlie Kirk's death. I think it's a funny meme, and I think that it's, people are justified in not mourning this man or thinking that he had to die. But I do think that the consequences of this are going to be fairly fucking dire, and that is frustrating, to say the least. All in all, we are in for some dark days ahead, and this is going to be, at least for the next couple weeks, what the Trump administration is going to use to deflect from the worsening economy due to inflation and tariffs, and the continued obstinance of Trump to not release the Epstein files because he's in the motherfuckers. The thing that Project Veritas, as much of a slop factory as they are, released the other day, and the Trump administration did not handle well at all whatsoever. In response, they probably responded in the worst way possible to give some level of credence to it. All in all, we're going to see some fuck shit happening. I don't think they're going to be able to catch the person, if I'm being perfectly honest. I think we're in for something difficult. I do think that the person that killed Charlie Kirk is going to be much harder to catch than Luigi Mangione was, primarily because you do not shoot that precise of a shot with no casualties from 250 yards away without some kind of military training, specifically, higher level marksman training. Like, I would even think that maybe like the Marine standards of marksmanship would be to a degree. So, with somebody with that level of training, it's probably going to be more difficult to find them. So, regardless, I think, like, in summation, shit's gonna get weird over the next month. Mark my words. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, thank y'all so much for listening to this episode of My Little Black Book. I appreciate you, your time, and your viewership. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. If you got some kind of interest out of this podcast, please consider going to himedia.gg/podcasts to see all manner of other podcasts we have, both on YouTube and wherever you get your pods. If you've got the scratch, and only if you can afford it, please consider joining our Ko-Fi and getting a huge smattering of perks that comes with it by going to himedia.gg/perks. Have a wonderful rest of your day. This is another chapter on My Little Black Book closed, and I'll see you guys next time.